2024 पार्लियामेंट्री इलेक्शंस मैंडेट एंड वे अहेड पर सिंपोजियम एक बेहतर हिंदुस्तान की उम्मीदों को उजागर करता हुआ दिखाई पड़ता है। बेंगलुरु जमहूरियत के पुरजोश हामियों ने हफ्ते को बिफ्ट हॉल में फॉर्म फॉर डेमोक्रेसी एंड कम्युनल एमिटी कर्नाटका चैप्टर के ज़ेर एहतमाम 2024 के पार्लिमानी इंतखाबात का मैंडेट द वे फॉरवर्ड के उन्वान पर एक सिंपोजियम मुनक़्क़द किया। इस प्रोग्राम में फ़िरक़ा परस्त ताकतों का मुकाबला करने और फ़िरक़ा परस्ती से निमटने के लिए एक जमहूरी तर्ज़ हुक्मरानी को फ़रोग़ देने के इज्तिमाई अज़्म का इजहार किया। मुमताज़ मुक़र्रिरीन ने इस प्रोग्राम में अपनी बसीरत अफ़रोज़ बातों से इस इलेक्शन के नताइज को एक बेहतर हिंदुस्तान की तरफ बढ़ता हुआ कदम करार दिया। जस्टिस H.N. नागमोहन दास ने सदारती खिताब में हालिया लोकसभा इंतखाबात में जज्बाती बातों को नज़रअंदाज करते हुए तालीमी, माशी और ज़िंदगी से जुड़े हकीकी मसाइल को तरजीह देने के लिए राय दहिंदगान की तारीफ़ की। इन्होंने सेक्युलरिज़म की बका के लिए एक ताकतवर मुत्तहिदा अपोजिशन पर जोर दिया और हिज़्ब मुखालिफ को इक़्तिसादी, समाजी और सियासी जमहूरियत की बुनियाद पर एक मुश्तरका कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम बनाने पर जोर दिया। जस्टिस दास ने इंतखाबात में पैसे, ताकत, मजहब और ज़ात पात के असर रसूख का मुकाबला करने के लिए आइनी बेदारी की ज़रूरत पर जोर दिया। मुतनासिब नुमाइंदगी और अक़लियतों और ख़वातीन की नुमाइंदगी में इजाफे की वकालत के साथ इसे फ़ौरन नाफिज करने की बात कही।
Purchaser, after fall of real estate, went back. He backed out. Landlord came home to the seller. Sir, our mail case ake, avanu ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Agreed price ನಾನು ಮಾಲಕ್ ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಲೈಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕೇಳಿ. ಈ ತರ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ. ಆದರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಫೋರಂ ಒಂದೇ ಉತ್ತರ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಾರಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ನೀವು ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರು ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಲೀಡರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಇದನ್ನು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೋಡೋದು, ರಾಮ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೋಡೋದು. ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಯಾವ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದು, ರಾಮ ಯಾವ ಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ, ಈ ಗುಣನ ನೀವು ಬೆಳೆಸಬೇಕು.
मुमताज़ वकील और हुकूक़ इंसानी के एक्टिविस्ट प्रशांतभूषण ने अपने कलीदी खिताब में कहा कि पिछले 10 सालों में हालिया हुकूमत ने शहरियों के बुनियादी दस्तूरी हकूक़ गस्ब किए हैं। फ़िरक़ा परस्ती के ज़रिए माशरे में अक़लियतों के ख़िलाफ़ माहौल तैयार किया गया है और ये सब बीजेपी ने मीडिया पर अपना कब्ज़ा जमा कर और सोशल मीडिया पर पेट्रोल आर्मी के ज़रिए माहौल को कशीदा करने की कोशिश की है। इसका मुकाबला करने के लिए प्रशांत भूषण ने ट्रुथ आर्मी बनाने की तजवीज़ पेश की। इन्होंने कहा कि सिविल सोसाइटीज़ का मुतबादिल मीडिया की हिमायत करनी चाहिए, जिसने हालिया इंतखाबात में नफ़रत फैलाने वालों का मुकाबला करने के लिए सही मवाद के साथ इंतखाबात के नताइज पर असरअंदाज होने में नुमाया किरदार अदा किया। और प्रशांत भूषण ने कहा कि सिविल सोसाइटीज़ को वकला के साथ फॉर्म्स को मुनज़्ज़म करना चाहिए और PIL दायर करनी चाहिए और ट्रोल आर्मी को इंसाफ के कटहरे में लाने के लिए इन पर मुकदमात दायर करके इनको पैरवी करनी चाहिए। इन्होंने मज़ीद कहा कि जमहूरियत को तवील मुद्दती बुनियाद पर मजबूत बनाने के लिए इंतखाबात के लिए रियासती फंडिंग और बल्दियाती इदारों को ज़्यादा इख्तियारात की ज़रूरत है।
Run a campaign for that and put pressure of public opinion on the Prime Minister, but ultimately if he doesn't do it, we can't force him to do it.
Even then he loses. If we create
he will lose the election. I mean, public opinion will go against him because of that. So therefore, that is already happening to a large extent. Secondly, you said that can we not force the government to act in accordance with the constitution? Again, we can only build public opinion and put public pressure on them. Beyond that, we can't do anything. Case right now for against election commission or such a body for dereliction of duty. We can try and remove them on the ground of misconduct for dereliction of duty. For that, in the constitution, there is a particular procedure prescribed that you can make a complaint and then it goes to committee of whatever Chief Justice and so on, and thereafter it goes for impeachment. That's the procedure that you can invoke. Of course, while the election was going on, one could have gone to court saying that issue a direction to the election commission to stop this. But once the election is over, that kind of petition you can't file. You can make a complaint against them for their removal because it may amount to misconduct. For misconduct, election commissioners can be removed. But you see, ultimately these kind of things go to Parliament for impeachment, etc. Very, very impractical and very difficult. We tried to remove once the former Chief Justice who was made Chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. And the Supreme Court, government didn't do anything. The procedure was government has to make a complaint to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court examines the matter and so on. Government didn't make a complaint. We went to the Supreme Court, you issued a direction to the government. But because he was the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court itself, the court also didn't do anything. They allowed the matter to go on for 3-4 years till it became infactual. This is what practically happens.
डॉक्टर मोहम्मद ताहा मतीन एकोरा अस्पताल के डायरेक्टर और जमात इस्लामी हिंद कर्नाटका के सेक्रेटरी और रुकन मरकजी मजलिस शूरा ने इंतखाबात के नताइज को आमिरियत के ख़िलाफ़ नज़रियाती फ़तह करार देते हुए इस कामयाबी का सहरा हिंदुस्तानी अवाम की बेदार मग़ज़ी को करार दिया और कहा कि ख़तरात अब भी बाकी हैं और सिविल सोसाइटी को इनसे आगाह होने और आइडिया ऑफ इंडिया की बात करने और इसे दोबारा ज़िंदा करने और एक ऐसे माशरे की तामीर करने की ज़रूरत है जो बरादराना उसूल पर मबनी हो। इसके लिए इन्होंने माशरे में मस्बत तब्दीली का जिक्र करते हुए ख़ासकर प्रशांत भूषण के भाईचारगी के फ़रोग़ के लिए फोरम्स कायम करने की बात पर कहा कि जमात इस्लामी हिंद का मुल्क भर में 1000 से ज़्यादा सद्भावना मंच कायम करने का मंसूबे का जिक्र किया, जिसके ज़रिए मुल्क भर में फ़िरक़ावाराना हम आहंगी को फ़रोग़ दिया जाएगा। डॉक्टर मतीन ने किसानों के हुकूक़ इंसानी, सेहत की देखभाल, तालीम और बहबूद जैसे अहम मसाइल पर तवज्जो मरकूज़ करने की अहमियत पर ज़ोर दिया।
Whether you want Godse's India or you want Gandhiji's India, which one would you want to choose? It was a question of whether our valued constitutional ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity, is this what we choose? Or do we choose hatred, violence, falsehood, lies? I mean, this is the whole different ideas that were clashing. नफरत की आइडियोलॉजी, अहिंसा की आइडियोलॉजी, हिंसा की आइडियोलॉजी, झूठ की आइडियोलॉजी. What are we choosing? I mean, the common man was given this question. The battle between a bulldozer India or a rule of law India, which one would you like? And actually, even a simple battle of rationality. I mean, are you going to be rational souls? Or are you going to be totally irrational people? I mean, what kind of India do we look forward to? A scientific, rational, logical India, or a India of make-believe, an India of fake? A secular India, where diversity of different beliefs, religions, faiths, castes, and languages, and this diversity exists beautifully in harmony? Or do we look at one language, one dress, one culture? That's the kind of India that was questioned. Are we going to be divided by religions, or are we going to be united by humanity? I mean, that's the choice for India that we are looking forward to in the country. I mean, you can ask more questions. Do you want people like Rahul or Mahua Moitra or our own Imran Pratapgadi and his wonderful talk in Parliament? Or would you want the other side? And I don't want to name the other side. This is a divided India, like Smita Prakash says. Are you on this side or that side? I mean, you don't even want to name that other side, that rational side, that side of equality, that side of liberty, and that side of constitutional values and democracy and independent democratic institutions like we were talking about. Yet, I mean, verses and verses, Dhruv Rathi and Zubair versus Smita Prakash, beer biceps, however you want to say that. I mean, that's the India that we are looking at, I mean, to put it nicely. And we are looking at an India which is represented by Ravish versus an India which is represented by Arnab. An India which is debating and having an open society and discussing things and a beautiful environment, which is criticizing the judgments and questioning the judgments, versus an India which keeps quiet. Shut up. Nobody to question, nobody to ask. They're being bulldozed, they're being lynched. Anybody who asks and questions is again punished and doubly punished. Which kind of India would you like? Friends, India has answered. We have the answer. It may not really be truly reflected in terms of numbers, but it is reflected, like Yogendra Yadav says. It's a moral victory, absolutely no question about it. And everything subsequently really speaks for it. The morale, even the facial demeanor of people is telling you, this is what has happened. अब वो 400 पार की बात छोड़कर बेचारे प्रधानमंत्री जी की सूरत और राहुल साहब का intensity, I mean, it's speaking a lot. The depression on that side and the courage on the opposition side. However, it is too premature to conclude that this divisive, communal, hateful, violent agenda has been defeated. Absolutely not. I mean, it could be a beginning. It's a good beginning, it's an inspiring beginning, it's a motivating beginning, but it's not at all anywhere close to dividing and defeating this agenda. I mean, I wouldn't be mistaken in calling it the RSS type of idea of India. I mean, it's that ideology which is divisive, casteist, communal. And let's know that and call it as it is, like Rahul calls it that way. The biggest question to civil society today, as we sit here and discuss and ponder and introspect and look back and look forward, is the question of the way forward. One of the alarms, although UP has replied in a very healthy way, as so to say, but what about the South? What about the breaking of the fortress of Kerala? What about Tamil Nadu? What about Orissa? What about Telangana? You should know that it hasn't happened the way it should have happened. And therefore, the danger lurks. And civil society has to be very wary about these kind of things and be very careful about it. And therefore, how do we do? What do we do? Prashant Sahab has really put in some very, very clear points. And here are some of this. We need to speak and revive this idea of India, this ideology. What we stand for is not very clear. We stand for an open India where there is liberty of speech, where you can talk, where you can criticize, where you can discuss, where you can debate, where you have an Oxford Union-like debate. Prashantji was there. Where do we see that? We only see fighting matches on Arnab's Republic TV. How shameful that is. There was an Al Jazeera debate where the anchor had to stop. Hey, this is not Republic TV or this is not Indian TV. I mean, you've got to be more, well behaved on this TV. I mean, let him answer. You give a chance to him. You get your answer. I mean, that kind of decency. We like an open India. We like an equal India. There is an alarming inequality in this country between the haves and the have-nots. What India do we foresee? What is it that you and I are fighting towards? We're not going to have our communal jhandas here. I'm not going to be sitting like a Muslim and he's sitting like a Hindu and somebody's sitting like a Christian. We are looking at an open society, a society that is equal, a society that is fraternal. Fraternity is such an important part of a democratic secular agenda, that we are all brothers, we are all friends, we all work towards peace and harmony and development and progress. We want to look at equality, we want to look at flourishing ideas, new ideas coming up. And how is that going to come up? And this kind of a fraternal India, a rule-based India. We should be alarmed by the lynching. We should be alarmed by the bulldozing. I mean, this is, but what, I mean,
morals in social life, economic life, political life. That's the whole discussion about. And how do you get, and by the way, I'm not sure why it is restricted to the youth. I mean, ethics and morals are for every single person who's sitting here, and what the basis of that ethical moral, the philosophy is very, very important. And absolutely, we must get this in the education policy of this country. We are focusing, I mean, NEET. If you do well in physics, chemistry, and biology, you make a good doctor. You don't. You become a cutthroat doctor or a sold out doctor. I mean, it does not guarantee you that you become a good doctor. And therefore, our policy should change. We need to bring in subjects other than the regular curricular subjects. And a lot of things, ethics cannot be, values cannot be taught. They're actually got. All right. I mean, it's by practice of the teachers and the role models of the society. I mean, if you have rowdies for role models, this is what we are going to get. That's what one of the biggest achievements of this government is, the rowdyization of a whole lot of people. I mean, trying to lynch and shout, and the whole media has become a rowdy. The whole legislature has become like that, and therefore, ethical, moral values that need to be taught at school level, at the media level, at all levels is a huge question. Thank you very much for raising that question.
एद्देड़ू कर्नाटका वेकअप कर्नाटका के सेंट्रल वर्किंग कमेटी के रुकन मोहतरमा तारा राव ने इंतखाबात के दौरान अवाम की जीत की तारीफ करते हुए कहा कि अवाम ने बीजेपी के मंदिर के बयानिए को अवामी मसाइल की तरफ मोड़ दिया, जिससे याक़ो सबाक़ में इंतखाबात मुनक़द हुए। इसने शहरियों को महज तमाशाइयों से मुतहर्रिक शहरियों में तब्दील कर दिया, जो हुकूमत का एहतसाब करने के लिए पुरज़्म हैं। इन्होंने बताया कि किस तरह एद्देड़ू कर्नाटका 150 से ज़्यादा तंजीमों को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर जमा करते हुए आपसी इख्तिलाफ़ात के बावजूद जमहूरियत और दस्तूर की हिफाजत के लिए शहरियों को वोट की ताकत को दोबारा तलाश करने और सेक्युलर पार्टी को मुंतखब करने के लिए मुतहर्रिक करने में कामयाब रहा है।
Transition from the mandir to the Buddha that seemed like a bridge too far a few months ago. Suddenly, with people getting on their feet to cast their vote, what felt like a hop, skip and jump. The courage and drive that we saw, which was unthinkable a few months ago, just came alive. I remember speaking to people across India and thinking, how are people actually going to come out and vote? How are the minority communities actually going to have the courage in UP to come out and vote? And that's just what they did. I mean, it really makes my hair stand on end when I think of the doom that we felt and how that was transformed. I know we didn't go all the way, but there are many reasons why. But the fact that we did, and that each person actually walked out there and cast their vote, whoever found the courage to do it, there were many of those.
A few months ago, a vote that was really for our constitution, a vote that feared us losing our constitution. I don't believe this constitution is a book or a document. It is more a constantly live narration of how our lives ought to be. The power that narration holds is what I believe drove people to their polling stations. The Constitution is our source of hope and aspirations as a people. And now we have been witness to how we can transform ourselves from mere spectators to active citizens to safeguard our Constitution and our democracy. And that possibility and that power of the vote has brought our role, we the people, front and center. There is no going back and sitting in the wings or on the sidelines. That time is over. This democracy cannot run without its people in this challenging hour, especially
FDCA के जनरल सेक्रेटरी जनाब फ़ैरोज़ पाशा ने इंतखाबात के तफर्रुक़ांगेज़ तनाज़ुर पर रोशनी डालते हुए तारुफ़ी कलमात पेश किए। सिम्पोजियम का अख्तिताम बेंगलुरु की जमहूरियत पसंद अवाम की तरफ से जमहूरियत और सेक्युलरिज़म की बक़ा के लिए जद्दोजहद के पुरज़्म इजहार का ज़रिया बना। अब तक के लिए सिर्फ इतना ही, फिर मिलते हैं नए प्रोग्राम के साथ। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।